Hello everybody, thanks for joining me again. Well, I'm continuing my little mini series of rides around Brixham, and today I've come to Berry Head for sunrise, although you'd never guess it. It's very windy up here and I'm the only person braving the headland this morning. But although it's very overcast, there's still some interesting light shining on the sea, so that's what I'm here to photograph this morning. So although it's very overcast, there is a line of golden light on the horizon, and there's just enough light coming through the clouds to make some patterns on the water. So at sunrise I took some photos without any filters on at all, but now I've decided to put a 10-stop filter on, which has given me a long shutter speed of 30 seconds, and it's still quite a dark photograph. But I'm going to see what that gives me. I'm at f11 and ISO 100. So my first shot of the day was of sunrise, and as you can see, the sun just made an appearance above the horizon before disappearing again into the cloud. These photographs aren't going to be to everybody's taste, but it was great to experiment. The 10-stop filter made it very dark, but I like the moody skies and how it frames the sun. So at 27mm, 15-second exposure this, ISO 100, f11. So with a 30-second shutter speed, this was really starting to blur the clouds, and I really like the effect. Again, the 10-stop filter made it very dark, but then I do like how you've got pools of light coming across the water and that lovely golden colour in the clouds. So in the end, quite pleased with this photograph. I've opened the aperture up a little bit to f4. Not really worried about the depth of field. I'm focusing in about a third of the way across the sea here. But it's given me a shutter speed of 8 seconds, which lets a lot more light in, but the shots aren't as smooth as the previous ones. I think I prefer the longer shutter speed. Let me know what you think. Well, in the end, I actually preferred this shorter shutter speed at 8 seconds. As I said, it was at f4, but I like the way there's some texture in the water still, and the lovely reflected light coming across the water, and in the distance you can still see that glow of the sun just on the horizon. Okay, I think I'm going to try this same technique, but looking along the coast, as there's a little bit more light coming through, and it might light the clouds up along the other headlands here. Well, it doesn't seem to be getting any less windy. What I'm trying now is again some long exposure shots along the coast here, but what I'm also doing is a vertical pano. So I'm concentrating on these rocks in the foreground, and again these are 30-second exposures, so I'm starting down here and moving slowly up and hoping I can stitch something together. This will be an interesting experiment in these conditions. Well, at the time I didn't think this shot was going to work. The camera was moving too much, and trying to stitch these three images together I knew was going to be difficult. But in the end, I think the photograph works. I like the rocks in the foreground and the colours in the sky. And if you look very closely, there's some blurred parts of the image, and of course it was so windy, everything but the rocks are moving. Well, I don't think that shot trying a panorama really worked, so I'm just taking one shot now, trying to get as much sky in as possible. So again, I've put the 10 stop ND filter on. There's some nice detail in the clouds. I've focused in on the rocks. Very windy, so I don't know how still the tripod's going to be. I might have to hold it. Well, obviously this shot doesn't work quite as well as the pano before, but I do like the colours in the sky, and I purposely kept the sea dark. Compositionally, it's not great. I haven't got the horizon on the bottom third, but I just wanted to get as much sky in as possible. And why not experiment? Well, that was still quite difficult holding the tripod still. You can still see a slight vibration going through the camera, so I don't know how good that photograph's going to be. Anyway, I think it's time to move on. Let's go back up to the end of the headland. I'm going to put the longer lens on now and see if there's any wildlife out there. I've been standing here a while now. Some spectacular light across the water. Lots of gannets flying past, but still really windy. Very difficult to get any decent photographs. Well, I was lucky. There were quite a few common dolphins feeding off the end of the headland. So I fired off a few shots with the 200 to 600mm Sony lens at thousandths of a second. This was taken at 200mm, but I have cropped it in, so you're probably only seeing about half the size of the total image. And I was experimenting with the aperture. The first one was f6.3. This one's at f9, which gets more of the image in focus, and found it easier to focus in on these two as they speeded past. So, really pleased with these two images. Well, that was a bit of a surprise, seeing some dolphins going past this morning. Really nice. The light's been spectacular this morning, so hopefully I've got some good photographs. But as you can see, it's still very, very windy up here, so I think I'm going to call it a day. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I see you all again next week. But for now, cheerio.